You mentioned that you're working on a Sunday as well.
I mean, the governance and administration can never go on leave.
There's a viral show on OTT called Panchayat. Have you had the chance to watch it?
Yeah, I had been through it.
How much of the show do you think is correct?
साहित्य और सिनेमा समाज का दर्पण होता है.
I want to understand a little bit more about your family story and your village story.
My mother was, I'll say for all three of us, she was exceptionally committed, like an iron will commitment. Ensure that her kids break the glass ceiling of poverty or the glass ceiling of mediocrity. Even when I became an IAS, she simply says, yeah, okay, good, but now try to do something bigger and better also. Try to be in the league of Obama, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi. Her vision is like this.
They say that you empower a man, you empower a man. But when you empower a woman, you empower the entire family. What motivated you to serve IAS? Hi and welcome to yet another episode on the Shatakshi show on CEO Diary. In this episode of the Shatakshi show, I am going to be talking to Suraj Patel, who is an IAS with the Indian Administrative Services. In this episode of the CEO Diary, you are going to be getting inspired and learning on a vast, diverse set of topics. I think this is one podcast you should certainly watch if you're looking for that bit of inspiration in life. I've had the fortune of talking to leading CEOs, leading chairmen, politicians and administrators, and of course I lead an organization of my own as an executive, but there are very few people who have also left a mark on me or have left an impression upon me in terms of how did they actually really cover their journey, what kind of things really inspired them. So if you are kind of lacking inspiration in life, or you're looking for more direction in life, if you are looking to understand how to get into the services, this is one podcast which is what I would recommend you to certainly watch. If you like this episode of the Shatakshi show, feel free to hit on the subscribe and the like button, because it motivates us to bring many more other executives like Suraj Patel himself. I really hope that you get to enjoy this one. So, Suraj, at the outset, a warm welcome on the CEO Diary podcast. It's an immense pleasure to have you on the pod after you being a GJ speaker, and we were discussing how our scholars got a great value of learning around humility, around ethics from your masterclass. And the world might know you as an IAS officer who is deputed in Amethi, if I'm not wrong, in UP cadre. Previously, you have served very interesting and powerful roles of IPS and IRS as well, but would absolutely be privileged if you would want to introduce yourself in your own words to the world.
Thanks, Shatakshi. It's absolutely an honor to be here. So as you rightly mentioned, currently I am working in UP cadre, in district named Amethi, and my post per se is named as Chief Development Officer. And before that, I had the opportunity to work as an IPS officer, and before that as an IRS. If I want to introduce myself, I belong to a very small, not obscure, but a small village in Kanpur. That village is situated between Kanpur and Fatehpur district. So it's kind of the farthest village of the Kanpur. It's named Kuan Kheda. So there were so many wells, and the wells in Hindi are known as Kuans. So that's why the village was named as Kuan Kheda. So I had my childhood there, my primary education there. Then I moved to Kanpur and joined the UP board Hindi medium school. So it was a very wonderful school. It's named as Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Sanatan Dharam Vidyalaya. And then I came and to an IT Allahabad, did my engineering, and I worked in private sector for some time. And after that, the journey of UPSC started. When, as I mentioned, I had the luck of serving into all three services.
Extremely powerful, and thanks for that introduction. I have so many curiosities already, Suraj, based on the introduction that you mentioned. You mentioned that you're working on a Sunday as well. I'm sure that a lot of people who will be watching this are maybe considering to have a career in the civil services. So what does the Sunday of an IAS officer in UP cadre look like?
Unlike the general perception, those officers who are posted in the field and even those who are posted in HQ also. Yeah, Sunday is considered a leave, but you can't feel free. I mean, the governance and administration can never go on leave, right? Your electricity comes, water comes, land order is there. So all the services which are being provided by the government doesn't go on the leave on the Sunday. So we, as the monitor and executor of those services, can't go on leave. Yeah, Sunday is a lean day, but it's not a leave day. So like tomorrow, we are starting a welcome ceremony for all the young kids. So I have approx 2.3 lakh school going kids in primary education system of Amethi. So tomorrow will be their first day. So I am organizing a welcome ceremony. For that, I need to coordinate some things. Tomorrow, we are also launching a communicable disease prevention program. It's called Sanchari Rog Abhiyan. So because in this season, communicable diseases have a very high prevalence. So cleanliness, awareness, cutting of the bushes, cleaning of the ponds, sensitization of animal owners that how to prevent those viruses which will go from animal to humans. All that is starting from tomorrow. I also have to review the plantation. We are going to plant at least 45 lakh trees this time in Amethi only. So for that, you need to have 45 lakh pits. Those pits need to be unearthed. Where these saplings will be created, how they will be transported, on what sites we will put them, who will ensure their survival. So we usually on Sundays we do more strategic work. There a lot of thinking is required, and our honorable chief minister is also very assiduous, very hardworking. So we take a cue from him, and the administration works round the clock, 24/7.
Very beautifully said that weekends are for thinking and weekdays are for doing. And I will have a lot of curiosities around what level of preparation helped you to become a successful IAS officer. We will cover a lot of those curiosities and questions that I have on my mind as well. But I heard a lot of interesting keywords from your introduction around Amethi, around electricity, around children. I had the absolute privilege of doing my first project in 2013 in Rai Bareli. And this was around solar electrification of a village called Mithun Kheda. In fact, that project left such a stark impression upon me in life that I realized that it's social impact sector where I want to dedicate my life. But at the same time, if you are in the same Amethi, this has been a political ground for one of the legacy political party in India. How does it feel to be a development officer where there has been so much history of politics, so much history of the culture of India, and so on and so forth? So, what's your view on being in Amethi overall?
Well, if we go by a demographic analysis, then Amethi is a small to mid-sized district as per the UP's, I'll say UP's standards. It have a rich political and cultural history, no doubt. And Amethi is facing similar developmental challenges, and it has similar developmental opportunities as most of the districts in Uttar Pradesh have. Obviously, due to being a political hotspot, the political awareness of the people in Amethi is high. They are very much aware of the political trends, their rights, and all. But I'll say that the path to development, which have certain challenges, which have certain opportunities, certain strengths, certain weaknesses, it's almost as similar as any other districts in vicinity or in general in UP.
Got it. What are certain common opportunity area of a district like Amethi in Uttar Pradesh?
If we go by the economic profile of Uttar Pradesh, then approx 25 to 27% of the GDP comes from agriculture. The 25 crore population of UP, approx 80% of them are indulged in agriculture. Unlike, I think, if we go by global numbers, I can't say it very precisely, but as far as my idea goes, only 10 to 15% of the land is being used in agriculture. The land mass of the whole globe, because there are so many deserts and all. In India, that average is 45 to 50%. But in UP, more than 80% of the land is being used in agriculture. The foundation of the growth, or the bedrock of the growth, is bound to be built upon a thriving remunerative agricultural ecosystem. So if we think on that note, then Amethi is also working to have better agricultural setup, better food processing facilities, better technology for the agriculture, better allied agricultural activities like fisheries, milk production, aquaculture, hatcheries, silviculture, sericulture. All that is being pushed upon. When we come to secondary sector, Amethi have good industries. In UP also, in general in UP, I think in last year more than 2 lakh crore of investments have come in UP, which is a huge number. And in terms of GDP growth rate, UP is the number one state in India, GDP growth rate. So this shows the commitment of the political class and the absolute execution by the executives and the general supportive sentiment of the public. So again, coming back to your question, what are other opportunities? So food processing is a key area for UP and for Amethi as well. Second is those manufacturing sectors where you need a lot of labor, so particularly labor intensive manufacturing. So it might be textile, it might be certain type of electronics, it might be certain type of assembling factories where you need a lot of manpower. That's a foray where UP can thrive. The way China is going to leave its labor intensive sectors because the cost of labor is increasing, then UP is a very viable global manufacturing hotspot. It is a potentially global manufacturing hotspot. We have people, we have market, we have plain land, we have ample amount of water, we have a hard working 25 crore mammoth, population who is approx more than 70%, if I can say, belong to 18 to 45 years age group. So all the factors of production are here, and I say all these are very nice opportunities for next 10 20 years.
Very well articulated around food processing, agriculture, and manufacturing sector. In fact, Suraj, my organization was involved in Invest Telangana and Invest Goa both. In terms of making sure that investors are aware that, for example, Goa is more than beaches, and B, building a structured approach. Feel free to let us know if we can be of any help in the cause of Invest UP as well. My parents hail from Western Uttar Pradesh, so of course there is an emotional angle as well. You mentioned 80% of the land area in Uttar Pradesh is categorized under agriculture. You would have been certainly exposed to, and I'm sure you are partly an expert on environmental topic as well. Do you sense there could be potential environmental negative implications given that so much land area from the forest may have been cut towards agriculture? We are seeing temperatures as high as 15 summers, smog and pollution, which is unparalleled that we have ever seen in the northern belt. Could there be any complications given so much agricultural land is allocated to agriculture?
Well, the current heat waves and the way climate challenges are increasing, it's not a very localized phenomena. Not It's a global phenomena. It's influencing everybody. And if we read the reports like IPCC AR6 or reports from UNFCCC, we'll find that it's not like that. I don't think agriculture can be tagged as a prime, a prime accused in this. Since 1750, industrial revolution came, huge industrial carbon output had been pumped into atmosphere, the way Western lifestyle have been promoted and the consumerism have been promoted have always enhanced the manufacturing, and that manufacturing had its carbon potential and carbon footprint. So all that led to the current state of affairs. For agriculture per se, I'll say agriculture ultimately it's plants, right? So they do not add a net CO2. They'll be only giving us a net oxygen. So if I do not do agriculture, either I will be doing manufacturing or I will be into services. Both are pretty carbon heavy, right? Second, agriculture have its environmental impact in terms of the impact by chemical fertilizers and pesticides. For that, we are working a lot. Organic farming is being pushed like anything. Even the urea which we used to simply throw in the fields, now we are switching to nano urea, which will be sprinkled on the foliage only. So it will be reducing the fertilizer footprint. For the pesticides, we are trying to switch into Jaivik Kheti wala pesticides made from neem oil. There are multiple we have Achar Narendra Dev Agricultural College here, so I'm visiting it on 26th of June. They have created a lot of completely organic, completely bio residue free pesticides, which do not lead to biomagnification or bioaccumulation. So we may have our climate doubts, but those climate doubts don't correspond to the agricultural pattern. But yeah, in the medium to long term, UP need to switch to organic agriculture completely. Another issue with agriculture is the water consumption. Like you said that you are from Western UP, sugarcane crop, it takes a lot of water. The rice crop takes a lot of water. It is said that for 1 kg of water, 1 kg of rice, you require more than 2000 liter of water. So we are switching to direct seeding techniques, system of rice intensification, using drip and sprinkler irrigation under per drop more crop initiative. So we are pushing all that into the field. Field means in the general administration. And believe me, farmers are taking it up, but because our volume is so high, so it will take time. But I think the change is coming. So I don't feel that agriculture is uh, going to be a negative contributor for the climate, whether it's a positive one. And the removal of forest to achieve agriculture land, it was a trend, I think, in pre-independence time or after that also. But for recent years, I don't think that, because our laws are very well articulated and the forest machinery is also pretty established. So I don't think that people are cutting the forest nowadays. Very heavy monitoring is there. And since last 6 7 years, approximately 20 crore plantation is being done every year. The survival rate may vary, but a huge amount of plantation is also being done, and that is usually done on the side of the farmland only. So that same farmland is you know, going to be a big carbon sequester for the future.
A lot of my observations are coming from where my second office of GenZ is in south of Goa, and they're extending the manufacturing and service zones to many more southern Goa beaches. And my heart goes out. What kind of environmentally friendly zones are we going to be living in? But fair enough, agriculture, if not contributing, is going to be net neutral. I heard another term in your introduction, but before that, I wanted to ask you something. There's a viral show on OTT called Panchayat. Have you had the chance to watch it?
Yeah, I had been through it. I couldn't complete it, but yeah, I have watched it.
So I think the larger section of the society who is watching it may not have had a chance to live in those rural areas, right? And you being the chief development officer, you have gotten a chance to experience a life maybe from a bird's eye point of view. How much of the show do you think is correct, is accurately analyzed, and how much of any examples do you think are wrongly pictured, maybe from just over glorifying of a movie standpoint?
In in my childhood days, we used to read this line कि साहित्य और सिनेमा समाज का दर्पण होता है. That the literature and cinema is a mirror of the society. So yes, I had been lucky enough. My childhood was in a village. I, my family and all things are related to village only. And I'm working as an officer who's responsible for rural development. So I'll say the show is largely correct. It's not that, see, the challenges are similar. There will be certain government schemes. There will be certain genuine beneficiaries. There will be certain beneficiaries who are on the line, on the fence of the being genuine or not being genuine, and there will be certain not being genuine. The human intentions are always same everywhere. Everywhere, people have envy, people have mercy, people have compassion. So that so corresponds to a lot of reality. Uh, One thing I'll say that the way it is being shown that for some petty issue they are on the violence or not, it's not like that. The I want to uh, digress a little here. This nation, in spite of all its challenges, in spite of all our problems, like you have summers, you have rains, then winters come, then again summers come. This 80, 85 crore or 90 crore mass who lives in the rural India is really very hardworking. It's a very negative perception who thinks that people are sitting idle in the villages, they don't do anything and all. No, nothing like that. They do a lot of hard work. They don't complain. The complaining society is if 85 crore people start complaining in a real sense, then revolution will come. So they don't complain. They know that the challenges are complex. They help the administration. They help each other. In any village, if you go, it's very easy to get a glass of water. It's very easy to get a cup of tea also. You can park your vehicle in a village anywhere if you ask with courtesy, right? While in big metros, you go until it's not an institutional setup. You can't go and press the doorbell of a flat and say I want a glass of water. The security guard itself won't allow you, right? So our villages, our village culture, our village based ethos are a civilizational treasure on which we can build a lot. So my take on Panchayat series is that they have created a wonderful story. It corresponds to reality, but I'll say it's like 60% similar to reality.
I
Best
love
I'll
the
consider.
number put on it, which is 60 percentage. A beautiful anecdote of lack of trust, I think, in urban societies. Uh, could be because the people have been scammed, people have not been treated nicely so many times that after a point of time when someone rings a bell for just a glass of water, there is so much distrust. And while you were explaining the life of a villager, my grandmother still lives in a village, refuses to move to a metro, and completely align that there is so much camaraderie, so much community building in a village, which is unparalleled to a metro. With that, Suraj, I have curiosities around language. I think there are two generations that we have seen. One is our parents' generation, where I think there was too much overemphasis on English as a language that it became a status symbol. too much to the extent that parents literally wanted their kids to not learn anything but English, right? I am part of that generation, and I always say that after a point of time, English is just a mode of communication. You mentioned something very integral, that your schooling happened in Hindi medium, yet you speak really fluent English. Do you feel comfortable talking about your journey with English as a language? Did it impact your confidence at any level, maybe when you were a young teen? How did you overcome so much so that now it doesn't seem like if you came from a Hindi medium education? So, over to you around that. I'm also asking that question because a lot of people have, I would say, psychological block that English में बात करना नहीं आता. So, over to you.
Well, if we treat English as a language only, then Indians are the masters of learning languages, unlearning languages, mixing languages, and mingling languages, right? We have like 3,000, 4,000 languages. And Rajendra Prasad, our first president, he wrote that in India, कोस कोस पर बदले पानी, चार कोस पर बानी. That in after every mile, the nature of water changes, and after every 4 miles, the language changes in India, right? So I'll say there should be no psychological block at all, because 90% of Indians learn two languages. One is their Desi language, and second is the straightforward Hindi. Like in your village, the straightforward Hindi won't be spoken, right? It will be something different. So 90% of us are anyway learning two languages, right? So there should be no psychological block. English is I find it an easier language in comparison to Hindi and Sanskrit, and that is our main strength, because of which such vibrant service sector is existing in India, because we could learn English better in comparison to China and other nations. That's one part of the story. Second, for me, yes, it's not easy to learn, I'll say, a very fluent English, particularly for a boy or a girl who in his or her upbringing years have only heard Hindi, right? So your brain continuously keeps translating rather thinking in the English. So I still remember that first time when in my village, we usually used to have the bicycles of those, curve types, U-type handle, which milkman use. So first time someone came with a Ranger bicycle. I've never seen it, what the hell it is. And now it was some 2000, 2001 times. And someone said this is called Ranger. So I learned it as a assiduous learner. So I learned it, this type of bicycle, which have a straight handle, is called Ranger. So now when I went to Kanpur and I started studying in my school, there are a lot of kids who were day scholars used to come from that side. Then I said, this Ranger is very good. They couldn't, what the hell is Ranger? And someone told me that it's called Ranger. I said, okay. So there are so many thousands of stories like this. So you can take them with a pinch of salt, or you can feel frustrated or demoralized also. So I took that with a pinch of salt only. I still remember that in my first English class in NIT, I had to speak on cricket. I was not able to speak. I took it as a personal challenge. I learned it. I think I am a above average speaker now in English. The third dimension of this whole issue. Every language, if you read sociology and anthropology, every language evolves from the ecological conditions of its vicinity. Just imagine, if there is a Munda tribe kid in Jharkhand who belongs to Munda tribe, or Santhals or Orons, if I teach them A for apple, that fellow have never seen an apple. I am showing him or her, that small kid, a picture of a fruit. He is living in a forest. having so many fruits and nuts around, but I am showing him picture of an apple which he have never seen, and I'm trying to make him learn things. So it's so much disconnected to the ecology. So knowing two languages, Desi language and English languages with perfect fluency gives you exceptional advantage, because by using your Desi language, you can understand the ecosystem, you can understand the sentiments of the people, and having wonderful fluency on English, you can convert that sentiment to a global audience. So I take it as a twin advantage rather a disadvantage. So if I go to a village, I'll be able to connect with them like within 10 minutes. While it might be very challenging for a girl or a boy who right from the outset studied in an international school. So I take it as a huge advantage.
As Steve Jobs said, you connect the dots backwards, which
Yeah.
is what is happening. There is certainly to an advantage, and I see a clear passion about villages and rural population in you, Suraj. And I'm kind of thinking the concept of economy by Mahatma Gandhi ji, where he also felt that the powerhouses of our economy has to come from the village. With that, I want to understand a little bit more about your family story and your village story. So, ideally, we should have done this in the starting, but let's really go back to the back. What is your family structure like? How many siblings do you have? What kind of ecosystem were you part of? What kind of, I would not even say dinner table debates, but what kind of dinner debates or dinner topics did you witness that maybe have shaped you in the current shape and format?
See, the initial days were pretty challenging. Poverty and extreme lack of resources, and the typical challenge in a village, all that was present. So my dad is a farmer. My mom have certain, she have a wonderful IQ, I'll say. So uh, she started working as a primary teacher like when I was 8, 10 years old. Before that, she bought two buffaloes to somehow manage the expenditures of the house. Dad was also trying from that small agricultural land. It was pretty tough and challenging times. I still remember once, like I was in class third or fourth, so I have one smaller younger brother and one younger sister. So they were very small, and I was in class third. There was a fire in the village, and fires are mostly an ecological phenomenon. So in those times in 1999, I think you can't expect that to such a remote village a fire tender will come. It will come, but after a lot of time. So what you do, you usually try to assess the direction of the wind. So if the direction of wind is towards you, then you can know that you are next. And at that time, the unlike the today's times where Honorable PM's vision have ensured a cylinder in each and every household, at that time the food used to be cooked by using firewood and fuel wood only. So what happens? There's a crop of urad. That urad is a particular type of pulse. The plant of urad, the stick of the urad, is usually compiled in the villages to be used as a fuel wood for the winters. We had all the fuel wood stacked in front of our small, you know, half hut and half pakka house. So I found that okay, there's a good amount of fuel, a good amount of fire, and the wind is also coming. And unfortunately, Dad was not present at that time at home. It was late evening. So first time I thought that it's going to simply burn everything. That was an existential fear, and that shock I can still feel it. We ran to the well, and well से पानी निकालना, and 40 50 buckets of water. In fact, I still can feel my ribs started paining because of so much water I tried to collect if the fire will come. So at that time, I thought that let's do something. I mean, I am not claiming that at such nascent age I had very clear cut thought, but those basic inclinations to work on societal problems and problems of the common people. I think that got very much consolidated at that moment. For dinner table discussions, well, I think my sister is she's an entrepreneur and she is also an engineer. Then she did MSc Finance from London School of Economics. She's an exceptional student. So because of her, because in private sectors they earn a lot of money. Now we can have dining table and we can have dining table discussions. But before that, uh, my mother was, I'll say for all three of us, she was exceptionally committed, like an iron will commitment to ensure that her kids break the glass ceiling of poverty or the glass ceiling of mediocrity and catapult themselves into exceptionalism. So even when I became an IAS, he simply says, yeah, okay, it's good, but now try to do something bigger and better also. Try to be in the league of Obama or Nelson Mandela or Gandhi. Her vision is like this. And I still feel amazed at how ambitious she is. So our discussions were mostly focused on that you are studying 10 hours, how you can study 2 more hours. And if you go outside of the home and play, you'll be beaten. Because that was her single point agenda that we need to be exceptional students. And the economic challenges were also major part of discussions. So yeah, it was I'll say a tough but interesting childhood. I had a wonderful primary education. We had something a wooden board. It is called party. We take our bora. Bora is that jute bag, and we take there is something called haretta. The term comes from green foliage. Hara se haretta. So you just take some green leaves from any plant and rub on your party and write from the chalk on it. You don't have the duster and all. So I had a pretty eco-positive primary education. It was wonderful. It had its set of challenges, but it had its set of learnings also. Particularly floods, droughts, village conflicts, village collaborations, economic challenges. Like I couldn't go to nearby town because there was no proper connectivity. But then one young, fellow, he said that I have a horse and now I'll run a tonga from the village to that particular town. We all felt happy. Okay, now I'll go to school in that town. So all those sweet memories are bit. Yeah, it was an interesting journey.
Wow is the word with which I would want to start. I have two things to again follow up ask. They say that you empower a man, you empower a man, but when you empower a woman, you empower the entire family. What do you understand? What made your mother the way she is right now? Maybe few mothers will be watching this. Maybe they can take a leaf from your mother's book. How did she turn out to be the iron lady that she is? That's one, and then I'll have another question.
I mean, it's like asking moon to comment on that how sun is so bright.
But moon is close to the sun, right? You are close to your mother.
Yeah. So I'll say that challenges force the character, and dreams give wings to our willpower. So, fortunately, with God's gift, me and my siblings, we had good brains, and my mother simply wanted us to, break the cycle of poverty, and she knew that her kids have good brains, and she wanted that we don't get spoiled, and we somehow make it to the cut and contribute to the humanity. And she herself is a wonderful student, I think. She still reads a lot. Memory is exceptional.
May I ask, till what stage was she educated?
She had done her, I think, she have done her 12th. Then after 12th, there was a concept called BTC. It's a teacher training diploma. So she did it after marriage and all. I still remember that my younger brother his name is Chotu, we call him. So it was too small, and I used to take care of him, and mom used to go to a teacher training center to get her training so that she can get a job as a primary teacher. So I'll say relatively she was educated, she is educated, and but if she could have got the chance, she would have easily made it to IIT or AIMS. But yeah,
I'm sure. I'm very sure, especially women of previous generation who didn't have the right exposure but had the right IQ. While you were speaking, I could just think of the right lady who would also categorize in that bucket. I also believe, Suraj, poverty and lack of resources are a great teacher of life. I'm an output of being a 90s kid. I have studied in St. Stephen's College, where for the first time I found that there were rich kids or rich parents' kids. And eventually, initially, there was some complex that I do not come from such affluent family. But eventually in life, when I connected the dots backward, I realized that it was an advantage to have lack of resources. Uh, Without saying my struggles are nothing compared to the kind of journey you have had, and I'm sure there could be other extremes as well. It's kind of a philosophical question, but I wonder, how are we going to teach our next generation that competitive advantage when our generation is decently doing well? Can you think of how are you going to teach your future kids the value of money, the value of competitiveness, and the value of dreams when you yourself are doing decently well?
okay. So there are two educational models which exist in this world. One is China South Korea model, and another is Scandinavian, Western Europe model. One focuses on extreme productivity, and one focuses on extreme creativity, right? So it's like one is a soldier of a very well disciplined army, and one is uh, what I call those paintings which have no
Maybe Machiavelli become a philosopher.
where a modern artist sort of thing, right? So these are two education philosophies. So a lot of parents come to me, meet, and they usually ask that how, and that is an thought I want to convey from your platform to all the parents. I get this question a lot, and even my parents get this question a lot. That my younger brother is a doctor, and my younger sister is an entrepreneur. Before that, she was a vice president of a big US bank, and we all three kids are considered exceptionally successful in our village. So we get this question a lot, that what are the right things and what are the wrong things. Learn your first you learn, and then make your kid learn how to dream. How you need to sow the seeds of exceptional ambition and very grand dreams in the brain of your kid. You don't need to guide or goad him or her, but you put those seeds there. Like a 2 year kid or 3 year kid, we usually give them teddies and animal wala pets wala gifts and all. I'm saying give them the models of PSLV, GSLV, or Falcon 10 or something. Let them have the curiosity in that side also. And when I meet my nieces and nephews and ask them what you want to become, someone say doctor, engineer, artist, entrepreneur, software developer. Now the vloggers and YouTubers are also coming up. But nobody tells me that I want to win a Nobel Prize. Nobody says that I want to become Prime Minister of India. Nobody is saying that I want to become the richest person in this planet Earth, or I want to be the key person who reverse the negative climate impacts. So we are still unable to infuse those sort of very grand dreams in our kids. And if a parent simply just put that dream in that kid, then rest things will happen automatically. He or she want to be able to, I'll say, sit tight or sit peacefully until he or she achieves a certain portion of that dream. So that's one part which a guardian can do. Second, for the as an civil servant for our education system, currently our focus is on numeracy, literacy, foundational learning, which we say. That's a step one. Step two should be to understand the ecosystem. If I teach a kid about Miami or Las Vegas or Beijing or Tokyo, it won't help him or her. It will simply put a dream in him or her that living in Tokyo is a heaven and living anywhere else is a hell. And that I see in a lot of kids. Everybody is thinking that if they go to Bay Area or if they simply get settled in Germany or somewhere, the life will simply become a heaven. And it's totally untrue when you discuss with the people who are there. So the second step of education should be to give the ability to the kids to learn about their surroundings, to find out the resources, to find the challenges, and then have the ability to do something good by using the local resources. That should be the second step. And the third step in the education is the global creativity, because it's an era of globalization. And the third step should be technology plus creativity, exceptional creativity. And exceptional creativity is not an easy thing to bring into, right? I read about China a lot because they are going to be our biggest competitor. They are our biggest competitor, but I think in that after 2047, there will be two major competitors in the world, China and India. Chinese have developed a hairband. They put that hairband to each and every kid in their primary education system. That hairband is a neural wave receiver. So it gives a data to a software that how much focused that kid is. Suppose a mathematics teacher have came into the class second or class third kids. So kid may be looking into the blackboard, but he might be thinking something else. So that hairband will be able to detect it, and it will be giving a feedback to a particular machine learning algorithm, and then it will tweak the pedagogy for that kid. That's one model, right? Another model is what I had in my school. I was lucky to have an exceptional school. What they used to do, they used to go to all the villages nearby, approximately 3,000, 4,000 villages, tell about the school, and then get a competitive exam done. And after that competitive exam, they used to pick 45, 46 kids. And the teachers were not there for the salary; they were there for a mission to, create leaders for tomorrow. And we were never told to write anything in the class, right from the class 6. The teacher used to say something. If you want to write something, you write, you can listen. And the maximum portion of the time was given in the literature. We were not taught literature in the typical fashion. Like if Kabir ka doha is there, the teacher will write it and then he will say to find out the meaning. Everybody will have its own meaning and they will discuss a lot on philosophy, spirituality, leadership. I still remember my principal's words in my ears. He used to say it 1,000 times every year that don't make it your dream to have some few crores of the package and have some big flat and good car. Dream better, dream bigger. Think about being a change maker. Think about being a leader. Think about being a social reformer. So, unlike China, if I am given the opportunity, I will try to have this sort of educational format. Exceptional productivity, I don't think it's very good. Creativity, compassion, empathy, that's a better format for education. That's how I'll decide this whole organic decision.
Very structured answer, and maybe that's why a lot of engineers are maybe becoming actors or creative writers, which is where maybe their productivity angle has been just so put to the extreme that they want to explore to their maybe creative side of the brain. With that, maybe I'll ask a little bit more conventional question. It seemed like while there were a lot of adversity from the face of it in your early childhood, there was a good ecosystem of dreaming at your home through your mother, and with the kind of schooling you're talking about, sounds really unparalleled. At what stage in your life, Suresh, you realized that I would want to join civil services? And why did you, what were the moments that led you towards that decision?
Working for the society was always a dream, but to use civil service as a channel for it, there is a partial wish for it existing in the graduation times itself. But once I was in private sector, then that wish got consolidated and very solidified. And at that time, I took the decision to, make a career into civil services. And in North India, usually, if you are a good kid, you are good in studies, then some of your relatives or someone from the society will start saying that you try for the civil services. That was those times. Nowadays, we have equally good or better career avenues, I'll say. So that's how I'll answer it.
Could you talk me through? And that's an important stage because I think there are two types of personalities. Number one, and because I've been at St. Stephen's College, a lot of people, that school has produced a lot of civil servant. And a lot of my batchmates were actually preparing for civil services right when they were in school. That means that a lot of their culturing, a lot of their brain influencing happened maybe at a family level. And then there is a second category, maybe little unhappy with their private sector job. And I'm going to be asking the question from their standpoint. What do you think are the key differences between your private sector experience and the public sector experience, both pros and cons, both? Because maybe people romanticize being in the civil services, you're working on a Sunday, maybe strategizing on a Sunday. So, what are the key differences you have experienced?
It can be answered from two perspectives: perspective of the sector and perspective of the employee. Private sector is more efficient, no doubt. Private sector have better systems also. I also concur with that. A private employee, they do work hard, no doubt about it. First, I'll answer what are the things which are not different from the private sector. One is you face exceptional performance pressure in civil services also. Unlike what people or public think, it's not like that. In civil services also, you have exceptional performance pressure. Because here in private sector, every pressure is reflected in monetary terms. If you are not performing, your salary will be reduced. If you are overperforming, your salary will be increased. In public sector, your performance is multidimensional. If you are not performing, then the media will scold you, the politician will scold you. You won't be able to justify your job because the public is not happy with you. Your seniors will get to know that he is an underperformer or non-performer. So here you have so many eyes on you. So the performance pressure is not only monetary or very, materialistic. It's very much emotional. It's very much existential also. Second thing, if I want to differentiate from private sector, yes, job security is little more in public sector, but the public sector also comes with huge risks. You are dealing with public money. Even if some genuine mistake happens, there is a high probability that someday you can face a lot of legal actions. And it have happened that sometimes, people didn't had a wrong intent, but they had to even go to jail. So there is so many risks. Once you take a right stand, you create a lot of enemies also. So this is again a flavor where public sector is different from private sector. Again, private sector is also a very, I'll say, a very chimeric term, a very chimeric term. Service sector is different, startup sector is different, core manufacturing sector is different, the retail private sector is different. So I was a manufacturing manager, a maintenance manager in a manufacturing plant. So I remember I used to work hard there. Performance pressure was exceptional. But I knew the way. I knew that if I do this, this will happen. But in public sector, particularly in the job of IAS, you are dealing with, you know, a complex psychological mass. Like the Amethi have 23, 24 lakh people. So here you don't know the exact way. On every step, you need to be creative. You need to find reconciliation. You need to understand that what is the psychology of the people. You have so many stakeholders colliding and confronting. So public sector jobs, particularly the jobs of an administrator, is critically different from a private sector in terms of finding solutions. Here, our solutions are mostly socio-psychological, while in service sector and private sector, it's techno-economic. Last difference, except the social entrepreneurship and the voluntary sector, the large amount of private sector is no doubt contributing a lot for the benefit of humanity, but you can't see it directly. You can't derive the happiness except getting a lot of money. You can't see the direct impact of your work, which is changing the lives of the people, unless you are a doctor or somebody to industries. But in civil services, you can find solace, you can find happiness, you can find, I'll say, satisfaction, because your work directly brings change in the lives of the people. On the contrary, you will find unhappiness, frustration, guilt, and existential crisis also, because you see the reality of the society, the stark, hard reality of the society. So, and that reality sometimes, gets reflected by series as Panchayat or sometimes Mirzapur or something. But I think that politicians and civil servants and journalists also, the jobs of these three people have the kick of seeing the true reality of society.
I agree. It's a very beautiful answer. Kind of from your eyes, I can see the hard reality of on ground. It's not, doesn't seem like to be a cakewalk. And I served 2 years in Government of India as a lateral advisor. And I remember comparing my mindset when I woke up on tough days. I felt that my work is going to impact someone's life. Versus in private sector, if you're waking up and you're not feeling motivated, then those existential crises could also kick in. Because the time is also about to end, I have two last curiosities, Suraj. The second last one is about comparison of the three services that you have served, and one of them you are still serving. Might be a common question to you as well. What motivated you to serve IAS and maybe not do IRS and IPS? And I always say, unlike IIT JEE preparation or NEET preparation, UPSC is for a job, is not for a career. It's not for an education institute. So, wasn't it hard after cracking the examination that you're still at it? What motivated you to still choose IS over the other services?
See, first of all, with very deep conviction, and after seeing also, I can conclusively say that all three services are equally wonderful. Equally wonderful. No country can manage its affairs. The concept of state itself starts from the taxes, right? So the job of an IRS officer is, I'll say, absolutely vital and very, very important. If the tax bureaucracy falters, the government investment will falter, the socio-economic growth will falter, and the nation will falter. Second, the state requires a machinery to maintain order as per the law, right? Since 3000 years. So the job of an IPS officer, absolutely vital, critically important. And being an IPS, they can serve, they can solve the problems or give relief to the people very instantaneously. And I used to say that though they are not the judiciary, but the justice of God flows through an honest police officer, and they are the symbol of a state. So IPS is an equally wonderful job. With IAS, there is one little different thing because it's a layer. IAS is a layer between the legislative, which is called Sashan, and the executive, which is called Prasashan. Hence, it's more of a horizontally spread layer, right? And I usually hear a lot that fellow he doesn't know anything and he becomes textile secretary and next day he becomes this secretary. But if you go to private sector, you will find that same is with the CEOs. One CEO will be handling a telecom company today and he will be handling a FMCG company tomorrow. Because at the core leadership level, you need to have technical skills, but more than that, you need to have managerial skills, people skills, directional skills, and reconciliation skills. So IAS, because it touches every aspect of humanity. If I want to elaborate, when right from the birth of the child, so I monitor in district health society that in Amethi, as per the demographic perceptions, demographic projections, approx 55,000 pregnancies should happen. Approx 52,000 will become successful. Approx 6 to 10% is the unsuccessful rate in any population. Out of those 52,000, my target is to have at least 48,000 pregnancies in institutional delivery mechanism. So I'll ensure we will have a say or we will have a touch with that field also where that child is getting birth. Then the immunization, then the education, then the skill development, then the employment, then the marriage certificates. After the marriage, again their kids, then their health insurance, then when they are old, then providing them the old age, pension and the facilities for old age. And even when one leaves the earth, you need to provide a death certificate, pensions, the benefits to their kids. So the job of an IAS touches every aspect of human life, right? And I personally feel for myself that's the most beautiful, most wonderful career profile possible. Where at such young age you are able to see so many things, so many things. Like today morning itself, first I reviewed a Nala Safai Abhiyan. So I created a roster where all the drainages are being cleaned because in you know a lot of rainfall is going to happen, and if they are not cleaned, then a lot of water logging will happen. I know that our capacity is not up to the standards. We can't provide a very wonderful facility, but yeah, we are trying our best. Then I'm also ensuring that today all the schools get cleaned up so that tomorrow when kids are coming, they feel that school is good. Then I also reviewed some forest department issues, then got certain calls from the farmers, then reviewed the gausalas. I have approx 15,000 cows in 104 gausalas of Amethi. I'm responsible for their upkeeping. So it's a very wonderful job, I'll say. Such a yesterday night I had a training session on the upcoming Indian Penal Code and Criminal Procedure Code, the Bharati Nyaya Sanhita and all. So you touch a lot of things. I think uh, that's why I had the motivation to switch it to IAS. But again, I would have felt equally wonderful in IPS and IRS also. It's just the flavor of the dish is different.
It's very beautifully said. It seems, and I'm sure it is a multi-dimensional and a holistic job profile. Um, my last question, after which we will hopefully wrap up. We started with the concept of dreams, dreaming big. You were taught about dreams in school. You were taught about the power of dreaming and how your mother beautifully planted dreaming big. So, what are the dreams of Suraj right now at your current age?
Well, uh, again, a thought which usually comes in my mind. I find humanity is like a row of big ships, the ships in the ocean, uncharted ocean. So there is a ship at the very front of the row, and then there are million ships which are following that ship, right? So even if I become the captain of that ship, or a steward, or simply a cleaner in that ship, but I want to be on that first ship, which decides the course of humanity, even if my say is very little. So that's an inner ambition I am sharing. But I still do dream to become a very big startup behemoth, because ultimately the real change comes from the technology only. And I feel a lot of craving when I see that the way Elon Musk is working, the way certain Chinese scientists are working, the latest technologies in reverse aging, longevity, the very low price solar. You worked on the solarization of a village, so very low price solar panels, the advanced clean energy, converting human society into a spacefaring civilization, cutting edge biotechnology, advanced genetics. All those things are going to drive the direction of humanity in future. So now I'm working for the masses, but I feel I have a lot of FOMO, I'll say, for the cutting edge tech. I sometimes imagine handling MIT Media Lab or some research, team working on some integrated and interdisciplinary cutting edge problems. So yeah, and that's a dream.
The abstractness of the dream. Many a times, the more specific it gets, and of course, it could get specific with time. And thank you so much for sharing it as transparently as you have. And on the same technological front, my fear is about, for example, artificial intelligence. Would it take the humanity backwards when we talk about so much population of Uttar Pradesh, 23 crore or equivalent? I also wonder what will happen to them with AI. I know personally of founders who are friends of mine in leading startups who are firing left, right, and center because of AI. So that's largely it, Suraj. I personally had a huge honor knowing about your story. Thank you so much for sharing it as transparently as you did. As we wrap up the CEO Diary pod, any last words of advice for the young audience who's going to be watching this, maybe preparing for civil services or just without? What would be your last word of advice for them?
Be vigilant, be cognizant, be be like a sponge, keep learning. Like you said about AI, fear of AI, job places and all. So I just want to say few things about it and then we'll conclude. When we were developing steam engines as a humanity, there was similar hue and cry. When we were creating electricity plants, similar hue and cry. When computers came, similar hue and cry. What will happen to so many people who writing on registers if everything is being done on a computer? There is a very good, very good oration or a very good dictation of Carl Sagan. Says that ultimately humans are wanderers, humans are adventurers, and only that species survives which is a wanderer, which is an adventurer, and which is a die-hard adaptivity optimist. So be very clear about the human spirit. I have full faith on the human spirit that we will tame the AI. AI is going to be the smartest pet in our house, but not more than a pet. Believe me, we are so smart. We are so smart. We'll ensure. Yeah, nature of jobs will change. The challenges related to the firing and rehiring will come definitely. Something like universal basic income or state assured services will also come. But ultimately, the collective productivity of humanity will simply increase by multifolds by using the AI. And believe me, it's simple artificial intelligence, the intuitions, the capacity to take risks, the capacity to imagine, the capacity to do wonderfully erratic things out of nowhere. All those are simple human traits which can't be copied. So we need to be AI optimist. Having said that, I give an analogy that this is the time to provide right direction to the AI, because these large language models which are being created right now, what will happen if we have certain flaws in them, then the later models will learn from them and those flaws will accentuate. So this is the time to have best filtering mechanisms. Otherwise it will be like a genetic error which will keep on finding its way into the population. So and a very beautiful example I was giving to another discussion on AI, that there are so many religious books. Suppose in some religious book it is written that if you kill this particular animal, you will get this much of the punya, or you will get this much of the divine blessing. Now it might be true for that time, what was the thinking, what was the technological mindset, but because that was not corrected, it's still believed by a lot of people. So these are the times in the age of AI when we are writing the Bible, Quran, and Vedas. So let's write that. Let's be very clear and very sensitive about it. And later on, we won't have the opportunity to course correct the AI. This is the current time. So that's I'll say. And to all the listeners of this particular podcast, I'll say it was a wonderful opportunity for me to convey my thoughts to you. And I'll give my email ID to Shatakshi, and all the questions, follow-up questions, doubts, criticisms, and suggestions are highly welcomed. And again, thank you, Shatakshi, for giving this opportunity. For absolute honor.
The honor is mine as well. I do not say this very often. I've had the privilege of interviewing really senior IAS officers, senior CEOs, and many IAS officers as well. I think the level of articulation and thought clarity that you have had, Suraj, is frankly very impressive. I am leaving this chat being a little more learned, a little more curious about a lot of dimensions of your job profile. And I'm very sure that while the Vedas are being written for AI, policy regulators like you will also play your own role. And while I really hope and wish that the audience dreams get fulfilled, maybe your dream also get fulfilled. And I really hope to see you in MIT or Boston computer labs one day. That's the wrap up of this part. Thank you so much once again.